everyone, and welcome back. Today I've decided to get started on my Christmas cards, and one of the things I like to do when I kind of get started with card making is go through my little bin of extras. And I've talked about this in other videos. I have this little thing I call my bin of extras, and it's basically any little blank die cuts or stamped images that I didn't end up using. I will toss in a basket and save for later. And, you know, if I need to make a quick card or something, I'll just pull something out of there, add a sentiment, maybe another little embellishment or stamped image, and then the card is ready to go. But for my Christmas crafting, I thought it would be great before I dig into all my Christmas stamps and everything else. I'm going to see what I have here, what I can use, and then I'm going to pair it with a really easy sentiment that kind of can get you started in your card making. This is from Pinkfresh Studio, and it's called Perfect Sentiments Holiday. And I actually have the regular Perfect Sentiments, and I really like this. It's basically a stamp set that is multiple sentiments all in one. It's got the same font, but you stamp it all as one big stamp, and then you can die cut each of the sentiments out separately, and then you have a bunch of sentiments you can use for your card making. So I have the Perfect Sentiments, the regular one, but then I picked up the holiday one because I figured this would be great to use to make quick Christmas cards as well. And I also wanted to grab some white blank note cards. I get these from Cut Cardstock. I really like them. They're kind of a not super thick, but not super thin. They're I think they're 85 pounds. 80-pound cover stock, and I like these to use as my card bases because I usually end up putting another layer on the front of it so it doesn't make the card too thick if you've got like 100-pound cardstock that you made a base out of, plus you're adding more stuff on top of it. So these are nice. They're folded already, so you don't have to do anything. They're bright white, and they're my favorites. So I have a little stack of these ready to go too, and I'm gonna go ahead and just stamp out the Christmas images one time using my MISTI, and I'll kind of show you how this looks. I actually didn't realize when I first purchased these stamps, the regular ones that weren't Christmas, that it's one stamp set. So it's almost easier if you have the dies to go with it, but you don't necessarily need them. I'm thinking you could probably cut around these just with some good scissors and just very carefully trim them, and you can have the separate sentiments. But it's nice to have the dies to go with it because you get that nice kind of cut out sentiment. It kind of goes around the letters really nicely, and it's easier than cutting it yourself. So this is my first time using this, so it's like brand new. I got to get it off the little paper here. So you can see it's just one big sentiment. But it's great. It's got warmest wishes, good tidings, Noel, merry and bright. It also has a Happy New Year too, which is nice because sometimes if you don't get around to sending your Christmas cards, you can send New Year cards, and that works well as too. So I'm going to get my MISTI ready. I'm also going to grab some cardstock. I'm going to check in my white paper bin and see if I have any cardstock I can use. I throw all of my extra white cardstock in here because I can usually end up using it for other things. Although I do have a lot of, I'm just going to grab a new one because these have stuff on them already. And plus the stamp set is big. So to cut out the sentiments, I'm using, this is from Cut Cardstock too. This is their Cougar Super Smooth bright white cardstock. This is the 100-pound weight cardstock, and you can use this. I used to use this as my card bases, but like I said, it just got easier to use the already made cards just because it allowed you to put a few more layers on top so that it didn't get too thick. So I'm going to cut this in half. Just so it fits in my MISTI. And then it'll make it easier to stamp everything. So I'm just going to pop it in here. And then I'm going to put the magnet right on top of here just to hold it still. Actually, I might grab another magnet just in case because I don't want this stamp set to move. And then I'm just going to place this right on here. Try to get this more in the corner. There we go. Okay, so put that right here. It doesn't even matter if you put it on straight because you're going to be cutting it out anyway. So just pop that right there. And then I'm going to use my Hero Arts black dye ink. This is just a nice all-around black ink that I like to use for just stamping images. It's permanent, and it's just it stamps really well. It's a very dark black ink, so I really like it. So I'm just gonna get this ready to stamp. Since this is a newer stamp, one of the things I like to do is just take a white eraser and go over the stamp with it, just to give it a little bit more grip. Once you start stamping with your ink, the stamp gets a little more seasoned, and you don't need to worry about it as much because you're always wiping the stamp off. But I just like to start with doing this for the first time, so I can get a little more grip on the sentiments. So I think that should be good. And the great thing about the MISTI is you can just restamp it if you don't get a really bright image. So I'm just going to make sure I get ink on the whole stamp. And these Pinkfresh Studio stamps, they stamp really well too. I've never had a problem with getting a good impression. I use a lot of their floral stamps, and I really like those. And so this looks like, and this grabbed the ink really well too. You can kind of tell it doesn't bead up or anything like that. That's the sign of a good stamp, I think. So let's go ahead and see if we can get, oops, you know what? I can even see that I didn't get ink on this one. So let me fix that. Oh, you know what else I'll use is my Stamptabulous tool. This is my handy Etsy tool that I got from the Stamptabulous shop. This kind of lets you get a good impression when you're using your stamp platform. Okay, let's see what this looks like. Okay, I need to stamp it a little bit more. Hopefully it won't move, but I think I'm just gonna have to stamp this one more time, and I think this will be good. Okay, I like the way that looks. And if you stamp it once and maybe you just get one little spot that has a little white space on it, I like to take a black marker. You can use any type you have in your collection. I have this Memento one that I like though, because it kind of matches the black inks that I use pretty well. But you can take the fine end of it, the fine tip, and just kind of fill in the little black areas. But again, any black marker would do, or even a black pen would do to fill in too. So that's a good way to kind of fix any mistakes you have. But I think that looks really good. And I'm going to go ahead and die cut this next. I'm just going to give it a second to dry because I don't want to smear anything. So while I'm kind of waiting for this to dry, which shouldn't take long because it's dyeing, but I just want to make sure because I don't want to smear anything and have to do it all over again. Let's take a look at my little bin of extras and kind of see what some possibilities are to use for Christmas cards. So I have this extra piece of cardstock that I embossed with some fall leaves. And I mean, you could use this for Christmas. I mean, you could go over it with some ink, like some green ink maybe, and just have it look like it's, pine trees, because there are some leaves here that could maybe pass for that. Or you could just leave it white and then just kind of have the background as a texture. But I probably won't, just because I'm going to just try to find something else. And I might use this for a different fall project too, because it still is fall. And again, I have another one that's a craft colored embossed leaf piece too. So I'm going to save that, I think, for another time. I've got this, which is embossed kind of a basket weave pattern. And I'm trying to think if there was something I could use this for with Christmas. I mean, you do use baskets for decorating Christmas. So this would be kind of a nice textured background. I mean, you could use it like that. So this is the possibility. I'm going to set this off to the side. These are some birthday cards that I didn't end up doing anything with it. I'm just going to put these off to the side. I don't think I'm going to use those. These are some die cuts, some die cut backgrounds that are really pretty. They're meant to be florals, but I almost think you could use them as anything because they kind of have the little outline here almost seems like a Christmas ornament. So I'm debating whether that might be something I could use for a background. You know, it's kind of like a lacy background, and you know, in Christmas decorations there's some lace and things like that. So I might save this too to take a look at. This one is more floral, so I think I'm going to hold off on that one. I have a lot of these punched out frames and kind of background pieces, the stitched backgrounds. These are great for quick, clean and simple cards, so I'm going to save all of these. These would be an option. This is just a regular square. Let's see, these hearts I'm going to put off to the side. That's would be for another time. Same with the ice cream. Put that off to the side. This one is a heat embossed tag that I did. I'm not sure why I did this, but it's very pretty. It's like a kind of an iron background, just kind of a white on white. I think this would be really pretty as a Christmas background. And actually, I could even kind of trim the tag off and just use this as a background. So I'm definitely going to consider that. Here's some yellow circles, some stitched circles. I think these are a little more springtime, so I'll save those for another time. This is kind of more of a fall piece, this embossed piece, so I'm going to save that. Just some more circles and squares, ovals. I'm going to use those. Those might be handy. This I really like. This is a frame die from Avery Elle, and it's got the scallops on it, which I think would be really pretty for Christmas, just to add a pretty Christmas, one of the sentiments that I die cut in the back, and maybe I could even do this as a shaker card. Actually, I think I might turn both of these into a shaker card because it's pretty much already made. I just have to do the foam tape and do some shaker stuff in the back, and I think that would look really good. These are some trimmed out pieces of flocked cardstock from Anna Griffin, and I thought this green one would be pretty for Christmas, so I'm going to save that. This is kind of a lavender, grayish lavender. I think I'll save this for another time, but the green is really pretty, and I have actually two of them, so this would be kind of a pretty background. This one, this is pretty too. It's kind of a cream colored, but it's got some, looks like roses on it. The same kind of flocked background. I might save this for another time. This purple, save two. This I'll save. Hearts, no, more leaves. And then a circle, this might come in handy. And then I've got a lot of flowers that I stamped. I was making a bunch of cards with the same stamp, and so I have a lot of extras with the flowers, so I'll save these for other projects. And then I've had these for a while. I made a bunch of tags that were kind of, they were shaker and they were kind of Christmas themed, but then I think they had a birthday theme too. But I had some extra ones that I stamped. So I think these might be fun for New Year's. So I could turn these into maybe a New Year's shaker. So I'm going to save those and see what I can do with those. So the rest of this stuff I'll put back, and then I'm going to die cut the sentiments and go from there. So let me see, what did I do? Oh, here they are. So the die is again one big die, which makes it really easy. And I'm just going to pop it out of here. And then you just want to line it up right there. It's so simple. I just love this. And I actually haven't even used the other one yet, the regular Perfect Sentiments, because the die had been out of stock for so long. And I just had the stamp set. And I think I used the stamp set once and kind of cut around the sentiment. But it definitely is easier to have the matching die to go with it. So I'm going to grab a little bit of Post-it tape just to secure this down before I run it through my die cutting machine. And then I'll show you what it looks like when it's all cut out. And I just want to make sure, actually, There's a little piece of tape on the top of this. I just want to remove it so that doesn't get in the way of anything. Okay, we'll try this again. And then this is just Post-it tape. It doesn't, it's like washi tape. It doesn't stick permanently, but it helps you to kind of keep everything lined up properly when you're die cutting. So I like the way that looks. I'm going to put a piece here. And since it's so big, I'm going to add another piece right here. And then just run it through my die cutting machine. I ended up using my metal shim with it too, just to make sure it cut really nicely. They have a metal shim that goes with the Sizzix, or if you have the Gemini, that has a metal shim too. So it just helps to kind of give it a little more, kind of push it down a little bit more so that everything kind of pops out. So I'll peel off the tape. Okay, these are great. I love how you get the white background too, and it kind of highlights the black sentiment, the black ink on it. This looks really good. And you can just punch out there's little holes in some of the spots between the words. So it's such a great variety of sentiments. So you can get, I don't know how many cards you can get out of here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 cards just from these sentiments. And, you know, honestly, just for Christmas cards, this is almost all you would need. I always thought, you know, I love buying Christmas stamps because there's always so many cute ones. But honestly, you really only need 1 or 2 Christmas sentiment stamp sets. And then the rest you can, you know, do images and that kind of thing. But, you know, the Christmas sentiments are pretty much a lot of the same greetings, and it's nice to have everything all on one stamp. So I'm going to go ahead and work with what I have from my extras bin, and then I'm going to do this off camera because otherwise the video would be really long with me trying to put everything together. But then I'm going to come back and I'll show you the final cards that I made, and I'll kind of walk you through how I made each one, just to kind of give you some of the highlights, and then we'll go from there. So hopefully you guys have an extras bin too, and you can kind of work along with me and maybe see what you can come up with to make some quick Christmas cards to kind of get the season started. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I am so excited. I managed to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards out of just the stamped sentiments that I trimmed out. I have a couple sentiments left over. I just kind of, I made a bunch of cards with the extras, and I kind of ran out of extra stuff, so I thought I would just stop there. But 7 cards is pretty good. So I wanted to just show you really quick what I put together. And I think it's a great start to my Christmas card making. So the first thing I did was I had these 2 panels. These were from Avery Elle, and I'll put links if things are still available. A lot of my stuff is kind of older, but whatever is still available, I'll put links to in case you're interested. I tried to use just some quick handy Christmas dies and things that I had, but then I also wanted to use some of the new things that I got, so I did grab those as well. And I also used some of the new stamps that I didn't get to use last year too, because I always end up buying more Christmas stamps than I really need, and I end up not using them all the time. So I made sure I used those first too, and got some cards out of those as well. Another thing with these cards is, you know, when you think of, you know, making your own Christmas cards, keep it simple. They don't have to be super layered and fancy and everything else. My kind of rule, if I'm going to a craft show or something like that, I'll try to keep the designs a little bit simpler. So more clean and simple, maybe a little bit clean and layered with, you know, a little bit of texture on them, or just a couple little pieces of bling or something. But I save the really fancy cards, the really layered cards, for custom creations. You know, if somebody in my shop wants a custom card, I can, you know, make one up for them like that. Or, you know, on a special occasion, if I'm giving it to somebody as a gift or something like that, that's when I do those cards. But the cards here, I try to keep them as simple as possible, and they look really good. I mean, you don't have to go all out. A handmade card, if somebody gets it, they're happy to get a handmade card. I remember when I first started making cards, or actually before I started making cards, I should say, I would go to a card store and I would see cards that had little foam dots on them that kind of raised the embellishments on the card, and I thought those were so fancy. And it's so funny to see how it's very simple to make a card look great by just adding a couple foam dots. It kind of gives you some texture and some dimension on the card. And so, you know, stock up on foam dots and you can you can make some quick and easy cards just by adding the foam dots, and they'll look really good. And again, I like to keep a lot of white space on the cards too, because I think that always looks good. So let me go ahead and show you what I made. So start with these. I had the 2 Avery L panels. I wanted to do a couple of shaker cards. And I had these stamped images from Avery L too that had like cheers and party. And I thought those would make a nice background. I've done tags like this before. So I really like this stamp set. This is a really old one from them. I don't think I can take a look if it's still available somewhere, but you probably have to find it on eBay or something. But I went ahead and I used, I don't know if I showed you guys this, in my Christmas embellishments and things like that. I keep all of my Christmas 6x6 paper pads in one basket, and I just put it aside on one of my lower shelves during the year, and then I pull it out, and it's nice. I can flip through it and, you know, grab a quick, it's easy to make a quick card by just using a little background, like a Christmas background. So I used a lot of these paper pads as backgrounds to my cards too. And it makes it really festive and colorful, but it's also really easy too. So I used a couple of the 6x6 paper pad papers for this. I just covered a plain white note card on the front with some of this striped paper this is from Pinkfresh Studio. And the Avery L frame, the scalloped frame, I thought that was really pretty. And then I just made a shaker out of it, just, you know, the usual way you make shakers with the foam tape and everything. And then I put inside just some fun little shaker material that I had in my drawer. And then just over the window, I just put a couple of the sentiments from the Perfect Holiday sentiment set. So this one was Season Greetings and Happy New Year. So I thought those kind of went along with the shaker look. So those are those 2 cards. Then I wanted to, this was actually a stamp that I had not used from last year. This is from Penny Black. This was a more religious stamp. And I thought this was so pretty. And I did some Copic coloring and added this to the tone-on-tone white embossed tag that I had in my extras basket. Trimmed off the edges and kind of used this as a panel on the front of a plain note card. And then I add this Joy to the World on the bottom here. So I kind of layered that over a couple of the panels here and have it kind of hanging off too. So that kind of just adds some more interest to the card too. And then I actually used, this is another older stamp set from Paper Tray Ink. It's called Season's Greetings. You might be able to find this maybe on eBay or Etsy or something like that. This is a really nice one. If you have just a plain sentiment for the inside of your cards, it kind of goes with all kinds of Christmas messages. It's good to have. So this one I actually used for pretty much all the cards for the inside. But this one just says Peace on Earth, Goodwill to Men. And I just thought this was really pretty too. This one, this was another Pinkfresh Studio stamp. Sentiment, sending holiday cheer. I thought that kind of went with the shaker. Let's see what else. Let me show you this one. I have to have like a hot chocolate card or a coffee card or something like that. This is another, let me show you the paper I used. This is from Pinkfresh Studio. I think this was from last year, Holiday Magic. So I got the striped paper for the shaker card, and then this little plaid, the green and pink plaid, I thought was pretty. I just covered the front of a white note card with that, and then added one of my panels from my extras basket. And then this is a little mug of hot chocolate from Lawn Fawn. This is This is their Thanks a Latte stamp set. So it's not really a Christmas stamp set, but you could use it for fall. I guess it's for year round because it's got snowflakes and leaves and hearts. So you can kind of use it for any time. And so this is great for Christmas time because of all the hot chocolate and the candy canes. So I added a little cup of hot chocolate here with a whipped cream, and then I fussy stamped and cut out the little scarf that they had in the stamp set, and I used some gingham paper as a background just to kind of make it more interesting for the little scarf around the cup. And then I just tucked in the little candy cane and then put holiday cheer down here, and then added a couple of little hearts. I thought it just needed a little something here. And then inside is season's greetings to you and yours. So I thought that turned out really good. And then this one, again, was from Extras. It was an extra embossing piece of an embossing folder that was a basket weave that I had an extra piece that I had embossed from, another little panel. And then this was a stamp that I have from Ken Oliver. It's one of my favorites for Christmas. It's a poinsettia. I don't know how people say it. I say poinsettia, but some people say poinsettia. But this is a great technique that I've done. I did on a card last year where I heat emboss the stamp twice. So I heat emboss it with white powder, once on a green piece of paper cardstock and then on a red piece of cardstock. And then I cut out the floral part from the red, and then I layer that over the green so that just the green leaves stick out. And in the first part, I cut off the leaves so that I can use the leaves from the green one. And you get like a nice little layered piece embellishment. And it's just kind of nice, clean and simple on the front of this. And then I just added peace and joy over that. So I thought that turned out really well. And then another sentiment from that paper tray ink set. So that's kind of a little more layered and involved. This one was I was having a hard time figuring out how to use this green paper, but I knew I wanted to do that. This was from Anna Griffin. It's like a piece of flocked paper. It was a panel that I had that I hadn't used for something else. I glued this on the front of a white card, and then I added this daisy panel from, I believe this is from Spellbinders, but I trimmed the panel down and used it as kind of a lacy background. And I thought this kind of had an old-fashioned look. So I grabbed this Tim Holtz, this is Stampers Anonymous. It's kind of an old-fashioned Christmas scenes. They're red rubber stamps. And these are really pretty. You can just stamp them alone in black and white, and they really pack a punch on a card. So I thought this was a really pretty scene. And it just needed a little outline, so I put a little bit of shimmer cardstock on the back of it and just have it sticking out as a frame. And then I added Good Tidings here over on the bottom in the corner. And I thought that kind of went along with the scene. So I thought this was actually, it's not super Christmassy colors, but it kind of has that sort of old-fashioned look. So just a different kind of look for a Christmas card. And then the last card, really super simple, clean and simple card. I kept it really clean and simple because I used foiling. This is one of my new sets I got this year. This is from Simon Hurley and Spellbinders. It's called Retro Ornaments. So you get the foil, I don't know what you call it, hot foil plate in the ornament, and then you get the die to cut it out. So it's really easy to use. I have the Gemini foiling machine, and I have a video that I can link that shows you how to use that. But either machine you can use, but it's nice with these machines. You can use anybody's foil plates. So I know Pinkfresh Studio has a ton of foil plates. I have a few of those. Spellbinders, and then Crafter's Companion too has some. So they're kind of interchangeable. So I use mine with my Gemini. But this one I really like because it's super clean and simple. It's one of my favorite cards to do. And I'm going to cut to the past. And you can see before I added the sentiment, just a quick tip on how to add a sentiment to a card to kind of make it more pleasing to the eye. So let's go to that. Finding that sweet spot on a greeting card to put your sentiment can really make or break the card. And just following a couple design principles can really help you kind of know where the best place is to put a sentiment, and it kind of makes it pleasing to the eye. So I'm going to show you right here with this card. So I have the two ornaments that are hanging down, and I have this sentiment here, merry and bright. And if you try to kind of put it around the card, you can see it doesn't always, obviously it wouldn't really look good up here. Over here, maybe, but there's still a lot of space right here. Moving it towards the bottom would work, but I think the best spot would be kind of right in the middle here. And I'm going to put it here, and then I'll kind of explain why that looks good. So one of my favorite design principles to follow is kind of like, I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but I'm calling it the triangle rule. When you put embellishments and sentiments and everything on a card, you can follow along and make sort of a triangle with your eye if you really look. So on this card here, there's a lot of different triangles. You've got these two stamped images here with the ornament. They kind of make a triangle like this. And then with this sentiment here, this makes a triangle as well. So you've got this going like this. So, and another thing with this card too that makes it pleasing to the eye with putting the sentiment here is that you kind of start looking at the card at the top, and your eye is drawn down this ornament here. Then it kind of goes down to the sentiment, merry and bright, and then it's kind of brought down, your eye is kind of brought down the card like this. So it just makes it comfortable to look at the card. So kind of try to think of that little triangle rule as you're placing sentiments or any kind of embellishment, jewels, things like that on your cards. If you just keep little triangles on your cards, I don't think you can go wrong with having a card that's pleasing to the eye with the design. So these are one of my favorite cards to make, just super clean and simple, lots of white space. But I think this green just really, if you're going to do a clean and simple card, you have to kind of have something that really sticks out, like a bright color or something shiny, and this has both. And I thought the merry and bright sentiment went really nice over here. And then I added a couple little stars from an older Avery Elle kind of retro Christmas stamp set. And then the inside is just a sentiment, again, from my Paper Tray Ink sentiment set. So lots of cards from just this one stamp and die set. Perfect holiday. This one's hard to find. It's always sold out. I keep trying to find it. As of this video, I'm going to look again, and hopefully I'll put a link to it if it's sold out. You can put on scrapbook.com, I know you can put your email in there to request, an email once it's back in stock again. I got this one on Amazon actually a while back, so I was happy to get a hold of this. But it's basically one-stop sentiment for your Christmas cards. So this makes it really easy and takes all the thinking out of it. If you just want to make a couple of quick cards, keep your sentiments simple using something like this. So let me know if you have any questions. I have quite a few cards stocked up here, so this will be a nice start. And I'm going to continue on kind of using some of my new stamps, and I'll be sharing them on Instagram too, so you can kind of see what I've been working on. And thanks again for joining me today, and I'll see you in my next video.